in Tanzania, when we went for Kana Zone 3, we actually swam as a suspended member federation. And I think for the World Juniors, just before that, the swimmers who participated there also swam under suspended member federation. So you can see the shame that we're giving our athletes. Our athletes work very, very hard. This is a sport whereby an average swimmer will train about a good swimmer, an elite swimmer, trains more than 9 to 12 times per week. They wake up 4 in the morning to be at the pool by 5. At 8 in the morning, when people are in the evening, they're still at a pool training. So it's a very involving sport in terms of if you want to excel. And you're telling this person they have worked hard, they want to swim for their country, and they're swimming as a suspended member federation. And even for those aspiring to be swimmers out there, what is the motivation to practice swimming if you're going to swim as a suspended member federation? So back to the crux of the matter, World Aquatics, at that time it was still FINA, gave us what is known as a stabilization committee to come to Kenya. And they did a commendable job and are still trying to do a commendable job. They were able to involve stakeholders. They called us for various sessions, and people were able, I think, COVID has really improved whereby you don't have to wait for a physical meeting to have your views represented. So we were told to give our views on email and other ways, and we did that, and through that we got a new constitution where we had a special General Assembly. That the first one was held on the 24th of June, and we were able to ratify the Constitution, which I believe as we speak, we are having the World Championships in Fukuoka, Japan, and we believe that that Constitution is going to be ratified by World Aquatics, formerly known as FINA. So D-Day was 8th July, and we had a team who offered themselves for service. I just say we offered ourselves for service. And what was interesting was that majority of the seats by the 7th of July were all unopposed. So we were the only ones who offered ourselves for service. I was the only one who had competition with Mr. Teddy Wamunyo. But on the 7th of July, he also threw in the towel, and it meant that all the members for the executive committee were unopposed. So all that was remaining was for 8th of July to have an election and to announce the winners, because there was not going to be any voting as all the members were coming in unopposed. And to our dismay, when we went for the meeting, we were given the unfortunate news that there was some element of intimidation. I think you can see on Friday, there was a whole half-page ad on assist and desist to tell you how, and I don't know how much ads cost, but I can fathom that maybe it's about $500,000 to do a half-page ad in one of the leading newspapers. And you can imagine someone can invest that amount to give what I would say is a fictitious claim. It was just a threat, because the people who are running the election is World Aquatics, who are not under the jurisdiction of Kenyan laws, and these elections were being held under World Aquatic special rules. And therefore, and the petitioners had actually gone to court to try and get a contempt of court against World Aquatics, which the judge threw out. So I don't know whether the returning officer was given this information or not. Even we got threats. I got a threatening email not to attend the elections at about midnight on the between 7th and 8th at night. So you can imagine the lengths people are going to try to stop people from going into office. And that's what happened. We're told there's no returning officer. What we're told was for us, the election process has started, because the list of nominees, everyone who has been unopposed has been published. There was no voting that was going to take place. So all that is remaining is to announce who the winners of all the successful candidates are for the various posts. The Stabilization Committee told us that they are going to adjourn, so they have not concluded the process, and we are currently just waiting for a feedback from them to see what can happen.
Collins, how urgent do we need the elections or new officials? we need them as like tomorrow. You know, like yesterday, looking at the situation we are right now as a country in terms of swimming, we are facing a ban. And if we get a ban, we're looking at losing so much, especially our athletes are going to lose their scholarships. They're going to lose subsidies that they require, for example, right now, as they travel to the World Championships and other international events, they will not get any subsidies. Now the parents have to go deep down into their pockets to be able to take care of the trips. And also, if we get a ban, we might not actually be able to take part in those events. That means our swimmers cannot go beyond the borders, not even going as close as to Uganda or Tanzania, our neighbors, to swim there. So that means their swimming ends up here. So we need to put everything in place, the structures in place as soon as yesterday. Yeah, because already we had, like what Madam President said, we had the nominees were unopposed. It's just a matter of having these nominees declared and they can get into office and they start running the federation.
Yes, and Maureen, you know, we're looking at all the dangers or the what Kenya really stands to, how it will be if the ban knocks at our door, right? And right now, as it stands with no elections in place, it means that we are staring at that. So what should happen for us to avoid the sanctions from the World Aquatics?
Okay. So we have been lobbying at local level, and we're really appealing, especially to the CS sport and the PS sport, to just see what World Aquatics is going to do. We have really tried to ensure that we support the process by the World Aquatics Stabilization Committee for Kenya. So unfortunately, because they were unable to conclude the elections, we have no idea what the report that has gone to Japan is saying. We have tried to get information, but unfortunately to date we don't have any concrete information. All we have been told is that we will get a communication. So whether they're going to consider that the elections did not take place and proceed to give us a ban, or whether they're going to agree with the Stabilization Committee that they have just adjourned the elections and are going to continue the process, we are yet to see. So currently we're in a limbo, but we are trying to lobby, as I've said, at both local levels and international levels. But most importantly, we've had interim management committees more than 6 years in this country, and we don't know what another committee is going to bring. What the real justice, regardless of whatever happens, whether we get a ban or not, would be to have elected officials who could be able to go around running the federation. People who are in substantive office and taking that responsibility, rather than having more people coming in, and there's no solution that has come for more than 6 years. So we don't know what magic is going to happen in this 6 years. And to add to what Collins has said, people just think of the subsidies that come from World Aquatics. What people don't realize is our government is a government that cares for its athletes and really supports athletes. What our government is able to do in terms of support of our athletes is actually much, much more than the subsidies we get from the international federation. And now, if I go that our federation has been banned, what is the likelihood that the PS or CS, through the sports fund, is going to support the various teams and the various activities that we're having within the federation? So that, for me, actually is the biggest loss. And the biggest loss is that, just that motivation. Any swimmer, any athlete, if you ask them, what do you want to do as an athlete? Their aim would be to get on the world stage, to go to events like Olympics. Now, how do you do that if you're not able to grow through that process by having the federation working properly? Start at local levels. For us in swimming, we start at Learn to Swim, Once you've learned how to swim and you feel you're a bit more confident, you go to what is called a level 1 gala. Then you go to a level 2, the highest is a level 3, and then from that stage you now go into the international stage. So I'm somebody who I've benefited, my swimmers have grown through all those ranks, and I've been on a trip. We went for Kana Zone 4 in Zambia, and we were 100% supported by the government. In fact, in that campaign in Zambia, we were the envy of all the other teams in the country, because we're the only team whereby our swimmers even had stipends. So you can imagine the pride that team had representing the country. And here you are denying the athletes the opportunity to do so.
Collins, what should be thrashed? What issues should be dealt with?
At the moment, according to the petitioners, they're talking about athletes representation, which is actually the bone of contention. And looking at the ratified, the amended constitution, or Kenya Aquatics constitution, which is actually in line with the World Aquatics constitution, that issue has been dealt with. The executive committee itself has 2 representatives or athletes, and on top of it we have an athlete commission, and the athlete commission has 16 athletes. So when we talk about athlete representation, I believe and I think deep down my heart that that area has been taken care of, and all our athletes throughout across the country will be taken care of. So that issue, I think if we all sit down as stakeholders, is not an issue that we really need to put on the table and deny our athletes the opportunities they're losing right now.
Yes, and Maureen, six years while the interim or stabilization team was in charge, and here we are, and yet we can't really agree, way forward. What does it mean? What the transition, the stabilization committee means it was supposed to navigate and hand over and make sure that by the time the elections are over, there are people who already are satisfied with what is lying ahead.
So it's just understanding what is impeding anybody from coming into office. It just happened that in, I believe, 2021, at the beginning of 2021 March, just as elections were about to take place, one of the petitioners went to court regarding a segment in the Sports Act. And again, it's about what Collins was talking about, representation of the athletes. Now, the long and short of that matter is that they want universal suffrage, and they just don't want universal suffrage. They want minors, through what they call their sports representatives, to vote, which I don't think anybody has a problem with. The challenge is, it is the governance of international sports federations who their method of getting their nominees is always through delegate system. And to give an example, there's no international federation that votes via universal suffrage. And to date, in the country, I am not aware of any local federation, whether be it football, netball, basketball, chess, who has voted via universal suffrage. They have all voted via delegate system in line with their international federation. And that is the method which we believe should be followed, because the delegate system offers what we call equity. Equity means that somebody with a small voice can be heard. And that is why, if we were to have our ban lifted, if Maureen Owiti felt so brave enough that I want to become president of World Aquatics, my vote is the same weight as the vote of, say, America or China at the level of the International Federation. So if we are to bring it back down to the county, it means that the powerhouses at the moment in swimming seem to be Mombasa and Nairobi, but it means that somebody swimming in Kisumu, somebody swimming in Kilifi, their vote will be the same as somebody swimming in Nairobi. So that, I feel, is something that is very good, and we don't have a problem with what they're trying to fight for, but we don't understand why somebody has to get an injunction put on elections the federation to run properly as these issues are being sorted out in court. So the main issue is the petitioners have refused to have the injunction lifted. Yes, you have to go to court, you have to have an agreement for that injunction to be lifted, but no amount of negotiation has been able to get us to that point whereby the injunction is lifted. And you find because of that, people like the sports registrar find it very difficult to assist the federation to get matters in order.
Collins, and why do you think that there is likelihood that some are rooting for delegate system, whereas there is another, there's another section that wants the universal suffrage?
If I may take you back to 2019, I believe the same IMC had a mandate to look into the constitution and amend the constitution and prepare for an election, which actually they did. But as soon as everything was ready for the election, they took themselves to court. It is actually very interesting that the same people who were working on the constitution took themselves to a constitutional court to have an interpretation on the voting system, which is the delegate system. And they are the ones who are working on it. So, as Madam President said, the number of stakeholders who are actually rooting for the universal suffrage is actually very, very small. A week ago, we had a forum where we invited all the stakeholders just for a meeting for us to be able to understand, also give information, because there's been a lot of conflicting information and misinterpretation and misinformation to the stakeholders on what really is ailing swimming. So the purpose of that was to make sure that all the stakeholders have the right information of what is happening. And one of the main point that came up was about the voting system. And unanimously, all the delegates, all the stakeholders agreed the delegate system is the way to go. Because, as Madam President said, there is equity. If you have a club, for example, of 20 swimmers, there's another club of 100 swimmers, if all of them went for an election in the universal suffrage way, that means the club with 10 swimmers will never have a say. Because you go with your 100 swimmers means you carry all the athletes, all the parents, so definitely you always win. So there will never be a day where these small clubs will ever have a say. Looking at, for example, right now, we are seeing counties coming up in a very big way, and they're developing swimming, but some of them are still at that teething phase. But for them to be able to have a say in the national federation, there must be a way for them to be represented, and the only representation is voting the delegates' way. So I believe at the moment where we are, all the stakeholders are rooting for the delegates' way, and that is how these nominations were conducted, and the team that is supposed to go into office was nominated.
Yes, and Maureen, how did you envisage the role of counties in your promise or aspirations?
Okay, so as somebody who loves swimming, counties are going to play a very, very big role. Reason being, I believe there's a lot of untapped talent out there. And it is only through having swimming at the county level that somebody can see, hey, there are people swimming here. Let me try. I'll give a very good example. We had an athlete called Yegon, the javeler, who just learned how to javel watching YouTube. And this guy became an Olympian.
World champion,
gold medalist, you can imagine. So there's a lot of talent out there that has not been tapped, and it is through having swimming at the county level that we are going to be able to embrace that. And fortunately, if you look at the way the executive board, it's very interesting. We're not aware that other people did not show interest in having. But we have county representation, we have representation across gender, we have representation across age. like I'll look at somebody like our second vice president would definitely very aptly represent the youth. And we have representation across competence. We have from accountants, engineers, doctors, and a very, very important segment known as coaches. Coaches for a long time have been made to feel like they're inferior, yet you cannot have an Olympic quality swimmer without the coach. They are one of the building blocks that we need to have, we need to harness, we need to empower, and we are going to go through this by empowering all coaches, athletes from the county level right up to the national level.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and Collins, how does, if your office, the elections, go through and finally get the brain to organize swimming in the country, how do you plan to plow back the time that has been lost, all this time?
Wow, that's a very good question, Okumu. And we have come up, we have a plan, we have a manifesto as a dream team. And this is a team that is going to put Kenya back on the map. One of the most important things we need to look at, we are looking at in our manifesto, is empowering the coaches. Like Madam President said, swimming has to develop from the coaches. The coaches are the ones who actually spend most of the time with the swimmers, with the athletes. So if the coaches are developed in terms of empowered through professional development, there are many clinics that are organized by the World Aquatics, and those clinics come down to national federations that are represented in World Aquatics. And as a team, our plan is to ensure that all those clinics come to Kenya, because it's been like more than 8 years since the last clinic came to Kenya. 8 years, that's been a long time. And our coaches have really worked so hard to ensure that swimming is progressing. But with the support from World Aquatics, we'll be able to have more clinics from different levels, coaches from level 1, 2, 3, even the most advanced coaches. And also there's a technical bit where our coaches, also we have technical officials who actually run the events. Events are usually mainly run by technical officials, but also empowering the technical officials to be able to run the events more effectively. And then we have, one of the other things we've been looking at is to have criterias. Criterias are very important in terms of team selections. So we're putting in place criterias for different events. For example, we have competitions from local competition, which is level 1, Kana Zone 1, Kana Zone 2, and then we have Kana events, and those are world events. So we're looking at ensuring that all the swimmers are actually put into different tier systems where they are able to compete and participate effectively from their level as they go up progressively. And also, we're also looking at ensuring that right now the Ministry of Education has put in the CBC to incorporate swimming, which is a very good thing. We've seen even some YouTube, TikToks, kids swimming on the floor. But we can actualize this. We can actualize this as a federation. We ensure that we lobby, ensure that there are swimming pools all over the country. The programs are actually devolved to all the areas in the country. We have 42 counties, yes, but our plan is to have at least 24 counties represented in the National Federation in the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and as we speak, maybe talk about how swimming has been brought into the CBC and how every upcoming swimmers are being encouraged. But you look like in Nairobi, there's barely no public swimming clubs. Very few. Let's say maybe Umoja Sharks, Umoja that is really doing commendable job in encouraging swimming from that side to represent Kenya. Is that a concern, maybe, Maureen?
Definitely, that's one of the issues, and one of the roles, I think, of the Federation would be to see how to promote swimming in the public level. I remember growing up. I was fortunate. I grew up in the era of Hospital Hill in swimming. Hospital Hill is a public school run with public resources. They had a pool, and if you look at majority of the old schools from Nairobi Primary, Hospital Hill, even if you look at the big high schools, they all have swimming pools. But we were just having a discussion the other day, and somebody was saying that there's a school, I think it was in Skisi, that a swimming pool has been turned into a septic tank. You can just imagine. So it would be really to look at how we can lobby, partner with the Ministry of Education as well, because really, where would swimming begin for majority of people? It's at school. And how can we develop that talent from a school level, then going now to a club level? The clubs now pick up those who show an interest and want to spend extra time engaged in the sport, and really promote the clubs. As a federation, we need to promote clubs, but where is the entry point? The entry point for most athletes would always be through the schools. So it's a challenge, but it's something that we have to look at and see how we're going to overcome that. Now, Collins mentioned something very interesting about officials, okay? And he mentioned about this IMC taking itself to court. Now, very interestingly, there's always a call for a country to give its officials who have been trained and registered by World Aquatics. Now, what was very interesting, the last list, we had 4 registered officials. And then IMC goes and gives us a list, and gives us a list with only 1 registered official. What does that mean? So it's just sickening and very disheartening how people do not have the sport and the growth of people who are involved in the sport at heart, because these other officials are registered and recognized. Why weren't their names also put on that list? So it's just to show you that there are a group of people who are hell-bent on ensuring they're the only people who can benefit from the opportunities available in swimming.
I call it, despite the stalemate, what's the promise that things are going to be better and soon we'll be back on where we should be, where the country should be?
We're on the right track. The dream team is here. And right now, we're not going to be just a dream team. This is a team that is actually going to push swimming to the next level in Kenya. We have structures in place, and all these structures, we are actually involving everyone, because our goal is not to leave anybody out, be it someone who was pro the dream team or in support of the dream team. Our goal is to ensure that everyone is brought on board to ensure that we take care of our athletes, because without the athletes, we'll not be swimming. They are the reason we are here, and we want the best for them. So the dream team has put everything in place to ensure that they are taken care of, and also the support system. We have our parents, we have our coaches. We work as a team. It is a unit that without that unit, actually our athletes cannot really achieve.
And what's the deadline right now?
The deadline actually passed. It was 8th of July. And as I've said, we are currently in a limbo. But there's a General Assembly happening in Fukuoka towards the end of the World Championships. I think by that time, it will be very clear what the direction is. Has Kenya been banned, or have we been given another grace period?
So we're all staring at we could be or we could not. But looking at maybe a few times that Kenyan athletes, or Kenya has gotten a chance to put up their athletes. Let's say at the 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo, we had two athletes, actually, 2 swimmers representing the country. How did this give hope to the process that that's currently being midwife?
Collins.
Looking at where we are right now, even going to Fukuoka is actually a chance, is a sign that we still have a chance. We still have a chance because qualification for the Olympics actually starts from the World Championship. Having actually, we have 4 swimmers representing us in the World Championships as we speak right now. The only sad bit is they are swimming on, they can't even wear the Kenyan flag. They can't even wear, a T-shirt with a Kenya at the back because they're supposed to be on a neutral flag. But all said and done, we have a chance, we have an opportunity to go to the Olympics if we are not banned, because they're already there in Fukuoka taking part in that event, which is a qualification for the world, for the Olympics. And also in the next 2 months, in the month of September, we'll be having another team going to Israel for the World Junior Championships. And it's our prayer that we don't get the ban so that our athletes will be able to participate. Because at the same time, these young athletes also have a chance. Yeah? Because it's about the points. It's about the World Aquatic points they earn. So if, we thank God because anything can happen. We have very good talents, young athletes who are coming up right now, and they go to Israel and they post the best times. We can actually have a bigger team in the Olympics, coming Olympics.
Yes, and not if the players going now. We've seen this with maybe the Russian team at the previous World Championships, where the athletes are told they can perform, they can participate, but they can't wear, they can't run under their home country flag. How disheartening is this to the athletes?
As I've said, I've been very fortunate. I traveled with the team to Zambia, and as I've said, that was a moment the team represented the country with a lot of pride. I was also the team manager in our last campaign, that was to Tanzania for Kana Zone 3. And the difference was like night and day. You find you have to do the opening ceremony, and there's a march, and we are just walking. We can't walk with our flag. We can't wave our flags. Our athletes were actually walking with their heads down. Can you imagine? And this is a competition whereby majority of our swimmers are actually minors. We had swimmers as young as 12. So you can imagine a 12-year-old marching in an opening ceremony with their head bowed down because they are called Suspended Member Federation. Now, in Zambia, at the end of the competition, what normally happens is athletes normally exchange items. So from your jersey to your swimming cap, T-shirts, all of those things. And it's so exciting because they autograph, and it's a very exciting moment for the athletes because they've made new friends, they've made new contacts, and it's so exciting for them. I can remember the athletes wanted to exchange swimming caps, and nobody wanted their swimming cap for the simple reason that it was not branded Kenya. Can you imagine how that person felt? I almost cried when I saw that. But I'd really like to thank our athletes. Despite those challenges, they have continued to train. They're continuing to train. And actually, they're the reason both Collins and I are here. We want to try to make a difference so that they can swim and represent themselves and represent our country with pride.
And Collins, maybe you could, I'll say, overemphasize the point of the role of coaches in developing talent and their place in your administration if you manage to come in, right?
Actually, Okumu, before answering that question, I would like to add insult to the injury. The swimmers actually won a trophy, and that trophy, we couldn't keep it. Yeah, from the Kana zone. We couldn't keep the trophy. It had to go back.
To the organizers?
Exactly. We couldn't keep the trophy. So you can see how serious the matter is.
Because there's no cabinet, I call it.
No, not because there's no cabinet, but we're swimming on a neutral flag. It's like you're not representing anyone, really. It is heartbreaking. coming back to you, to the answer about coaches. Coaches play an integral part in development of athletes. They mentor the athletes. They spend a lot of time in the pool with the athletes. And coaches are like second parents. The work they do it's enormous. Because there's times an athlete cannot be able to explain what they're going through, but they will come to you when they are swimming. As a coach, you'll be able to understand, able to know there's something wrong with the swimmer, and you're able to understand how you can help that athlete at that particular time. So development of the coach is very, very important. It's one of our core values. Yes, ensuring that they're all, equipped well. We're also looking at working on mental wellness. Yeah, equipping the coaches with a little bit of psychology, which will actually help them, sports psychology, which help them understand the athlete more. So with more programs, they'll be able to, be able to produce better swimmers. They also be able actually to send back the info, programs that they're able to devolve. Because right now we have very young athletes, others who used to swim, but they have started coaching. It is a way also of earning a living. So these coaches, they can learn from the senior coaches. And as a federation, our plan is to ensure that we have steady programs that are actually devolved to all the counties.
Mm-hmm. And how, Maureen, how important is it for, like you mentioned, working on the mental wellness, involving the experts that are required in that field? How important is that?
Okay. I'm very, very happy to note that people are getting cognizant of the importance of sports. And we actually do have in the country a number of different people who have specialized specifically in sports psychology, sports nutrition. So they are coming up, but you must understand all of these cost. Now you mentioned a club like, say, Umoja Sharks, mm-hmm. which would be dealing with children who don't come from, affluent families. Now, if you want to see a physiotherapist, okay, and you need to see a physio to prevent injuries, you need to do your strength, conditioning, physio. A session with the physiotherapist, if we're going to go at commercial rates, will be anything between 2,000 to 4,000 shillings. Now, you need at least 1 or 2 sessions on a monthly basis. If you're good, you should actually have them on a weekly basis. You're regularly seeing your physiotherapist. You still have a nutritionist, still paying the same amount of money. You want to see a sports psychologist. I'm sure the consultation is at a similar level. Is this really feasible? So also, definitely a dream, but I think Lupita Nyong'o showed us that dreams are valid, and we are the dream team. One of the things would be, can we lobby the government to have a high performance facility for swimming, and not just swimming, other sports? Because if I look at one of our counterparts in Africa, I think the giant in swimming in Africa is currently South Africa. South Africa have special university like what is called TUCS. TUCS it's a high performance institute, and it does across all sports. So they also have for swimming, so that you also harness, so that you're not just this psychologist to be able to look at the swimmers, the footballers, the runners, and things like that. So it's again, there's power in working with other people. So it would be how we lobby together with other federations to be able to get such a facility in Kenya. And you can find their athletes are excelling because they have athletes. You have somebody, even the food they're eating is measured to how they are physically at that point in time, which competitions they are doing. How do you expect to compete with such a person where unaenda tu na koroga katuuji ama some githeri, you understand?
Whatever that's available.
Yes, yes, whatever is available. So how do we come together, work together for the improvement of swimming and actually all sport in the country?
Collins High Performance Center will be the exact way to deal with that.
Yeah, High Performance Center will be the ideal way to go, because within the High Performance Center, if I can take back, I can mention that actually World Aquatics has different high performance centers all over the world, and some of our swimmers who are right now actually at the top, the likes of Emily, have had an opportunity to travel to be in those high performance centers, but we'll love to have an high performance center in Kenya. It is something that is very viable. Yeah, yes. It is something that it can be done, and through a high performance center where we can actually also invite those coaches. Yeah, right now most of we have like 2 swimmers right now at the University of South Africa. They took right now from Kenya. Look at the expense; it's enormous. It's so expensive to just send the athlete out there. But if we had the high performance center in Kenya, a lot of our swimmers will have an opportunity to be there and get all these services. Yeah, you can get all these services here. So we're looking at, as a dream team, with time, everything is possible, and our dreams are valid to have an high performance center here in the country where we'll be able to take care of most of the athletes, and we'll be able to take care of the financial burden that most of our parents have to take, in order to take their swimmers out of the country for training.
What should be guaranteed now, Maureen? What should be guaranteed about the process, about the possibility of Kenya now being off that categorization at the end of the meeting that you said will be happening after the conclusion of the World Championship, right? Now, what should be guaranteed from you now, the people who want to run the affairs of swimming in the country?
Okay, so for us, as he mentioned, we had our manifesto, and a lot of the challenges was around transparency and accountability in processes. So you find something as simple as a calendar, okay? In a good working federation, the national calendar is something that should not be a secret weapon. Yet, you find that the national calendar will come way, way, way deep. You will get a calendar in December, yet, or even March, yet the season started in September. So we just want to open up that information is readily available, and we're not keeping secret weapons and cards under the table for people. In terms of...
Why do you think that was happening?
I don't know. Maybe Collins would have a better idea why it was so difficult to get a national calendar.
It is a very simple thing to do, but I think probably they can explain to us. Yeah, yeah, because, for example,
how different would you do it?
Ensure that information, like Maureen said, information is power. And the people who believe when they have information, they are able to control.
They have
to
a
control
weapon.
Other people.
Yeah.
They have power. They can control other people. And I don't think that is the right way to run a federation. This is a public office, actually. This is a public office, and whatever information that you get from up there, it should be able to be disseminated, trickle down. Yeah. So that everyone is aware of what is going on. But for instance, when we look at the calendar is a very, very integral part of a federation. If the calendar for the federation does not come out in good time, all the counties are very active. Right now, we have Nairobi, we have Mombasa, we have Kiambu, we have Uasin Gishu, we have Nyeri, we have Laikipia. All these counties, and Kisumu, they are running swimming. So they cannot wait for the National Federation to come up with their calendar 6 months after the season for them to be able to make their calendar. Business has to continue. They have to give the services to their clients, who are the stakeholders, who are the swimmers. They have to support the program swimming to develop in the country. So when we have a calendar, our plan, our goal, actually right now, we have worked on a calendar already, which we share with the entire country or the counties. And they look at, we marry what they have done, because I understand some of the counties have already done calendars till 2025, you know? 2 years from now, they already have the calendars. It is now up to us as the National Federation. We see them, whatever, we have done a calendar, they look at our calendar and say, okay, fine, this event and this other event, this is how we're going to make sure that all these participation, because we need them to run the federation. When we have the counties participating in the National Federation, then the National Federation will be able to grow.
Yes, and Maureen, now we're looking at definitely, if the office comes in place, the affairs will be about getting that athlete where they deserve to be, you know, and looking at the number of scholarships that are available. It means that exponentially the sport will grow.
That is our dream, and that is our hope. And even I think also another stakeholder that we forgot to mention. We've talked about World Aquatics, we've talked about our government. We have forgotten that we have private enterprise and people are interested in sports. So we have big companies like Safaricom, Coca-Cola, and other companies who would have an interest in supporting the sport. You identify a talent. Can we go out to these companies, reach out to them, and support these athletes who have shown promise but are unable to afford to be able to support themselves to grow through the sport? So yes, we live in a country, and somebody has asked, why has FINA World Aquatics been so patient with a country called Kenya? The reason is Kenya is a powerhouse in sports. See athletics, see rugby. Even swimming, we were once a powerhouse. We had people like the Danfords going all the way to, I think, was it finals in Olympics? And winning Commonwealth golds. We have potential. And I think that is the reason why they have been so patient with this country and not issued a ban much earlier. So it's just giving this country the right formula, and as you said it, the growth will actually be exponential.
Yes, indeed, and that just sums up what we've been talking about the athlete and the enormous talent that lies here in, and maybe that's why, as Maureen said, it's the perfect reason why the international body, that's the World Aquatics, has been patient or still midwifing the Kenyan elections process. We hope that everything will be in order and the new team that comes in runs the affairs of swimming as per the expectations of every stakeholder. Of course, we're talking about swimming. I'll be back to wrap up the matters of swimming after this short break.
Bishop.
Welcome to Sports Check. And maybe just to wrap up with Maureen, Owiti, and Collins Marigiri, who are aspirants in the expected upcoming or forthcoming Kenya Aquatics elections, you know, and it's been a process to put into office a team that should steer Kenya swimming to the greater heights. And of course, we're talking about the global stage. And as we've had in the opening hour, in the first hour, about what are the blocks and how do they maneuver them and make sure that the team is in office. But maybe about the promise, Maureen and Collins, we can talk about your efforts to set pace with the government so that the government also understands why you want to be in the office and where now, what should happen. How do you pick it from? How do they come in?
Okay, thank you very much, Bernard. We are still trying to lobby government, and what is very clear, we've had interim management committees in one form or another for a very long time. we are very clear this is not tenable. We are very clear an election process is ongoing. So we feel the solution would be to have the successful aspirants announced as the new leaders for Kenya Aquatics. And that is what we'd want the government to support and see how they can support that process. In terms of what is our vision, everyone imagines we are just talking about the elite athletes, but we support swimming right from the learn to swim at the grassroots level all the way to the elite swimmers. And our dream is come 2028, we have a Kenyan swimmer going on an Olympic A time, not even a B time, an Olympic A time. And that will be through the support that we are going to give swimmers, because we have talent. I think Collins can tell you, the team going to Israel, the team that is going to Israel, I can see a lot of potential in that team. I see no reason, given the right support, the right structures, why those swimmers will not be able to achieve an Olympic A time. And even if I'm to leave the swimmers who are going to Israel, within the ranks of the people we see swimming in our level 3 galas, I don't see why, given the right support, we are not going to get a Kenyan swimming with an Olympic A time.
Collins, what's the future now? How would you paint it?
The future is very bright with the Dream Team. We have put in place the manifesto, and with our manifesto, the athlete is well taken care of, because he's the integral part of swimming in the country, everywhere. We are out here, we are here for them. They are the reason we are here. And we are put in place structures to ensure that there is progressive development of the athletes from that low level, kule mashinani, as Daktari said, from mashinani all the way to the top. Yeah. Looking at right now where we are, we have had a situation where swimming has been just like more of an inclusive club. Yeah. We have not been able to get more swimmers moving up the ladder to be able to represent our country at the top. So it is our responsibility as the Dream Team to ensure that there are more swimmers coming up, because they are there. Looking at the team that is going to Israel, there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential. Looking at the team, that even the swimmers who are actually from the last, we had a national time trial. It was one of the best time trial we've ever had in this country. And we will see the talent there. So it's our responsibility to ensure that this talent is not wasted. Because right now, due to uncertainty, even some of the athletes, I think they have opted just to sit back. Yeah, some of them are saying, "Oh, I had rather go to another sport." But we don't want to lose these athletes. Even the coaches themselves right now, they are losing their livelihood. Because if the parents don't want to take the swimmers for swimming because they are uncertain, they don't know what's going to happen next. So even the number of coaches now, their jobs are at stake. So right now, we need to work together. As Daktari said, through the ministry, we need to ensure that we have some consultative meetings to ensure that everything is put in place. But importantly, the team that was nominated, the team that went in unopposed, because the swimmers, the stakeholders spoke, and it was through that nomination, but that team was unopposed. That was their view, that this is what we need. This is the team we need to lead us to the next level.
And that's Collins, Marigiri and Maureen Owiti, who are the contestants in the expected national aquatics elections, and we wish them all the best.